listening to the Zee Podcast.
Hey, it's Zee, and I'm back to tell you I've been doing a little digging to find out some things that have definitely not been on your mind lately. And here's one of them. Great story. All right, it's not going to sound great. I mean, it'll sound great eventually, but it's not going to kick it off sounding great because it's horrible. All right, this guy was in a coma, and you'd be surprised how many people are actually in comas that have no idea that, well, they don't know that they're in it, but their family certainly does. But anyway, this guy was in a coma, and he was completely, out of it for many, many years, like 2 decades. And he just woke up. He woke up, and now he's talking. I saw the story in the Drudge Report, and I just had to read it because I thought, wow, this is such good news. This could bring so much hope. But what it brought was like a mixed bag of the rest of us being really conscious of what we're doing and what we're actually saying to each other. Like, he even talked about one point where his mother was like basically telling him to go into the light, which you can understand. You could certainly, somebody's in a coma for that amount of time, and it doesn't seem like they're ever going to get better. I mean, they definitely rarely tell people, oh, he's in a coma, he'll probably wake up in 10 years. I mean, that's not usually the prognosis. But in this case, it seemed pretty certain that this kid, who was, I think he was like 14 at the time, was going to be in a coma indefinitely. And his memories, once he awoken many years later, I mean, he was pushing 30. He was able to communicate all of the things that he was aware of. He was aware of being in the car. He was aware of being taken to different places, things people said to him, like the whole deal. So it's a great story in the sense that it gives such hope, that no matter what is wrong with you, like, you may come into light, so to speak, without going into the light. And I thought that was one of my favorite stories of the week. I was reading all about the changes in dating and the 5 things, the 5 words. Well, E! Online actually was doing this whole thing, the 5 words that you should say if you want to destroy your date. Oh my God, Freud. Your date. 5 words to say if you want to destroy your date. And one is like, I think I have chlamydia, or just, things like that. And what they determined was that dating has changed so much, even with people in their 20s or early 20s. They literally just either want to just hook up and be done with it, or they want to hook up and just hang. They don't want to party like they used to. I mean, it's just really, really, really different in a whole lot of ways. And I do love looking at some of the sites, the men from other countries trying to turn on the women. I find it extremely amusing. It's just mating, animal shear down to its rawest part, mating. And it's interesting to see how a Russian male will try to turn on. Well, I believe I posted that on my Facebook page, dressed in his little orange panties and his flowers and his tux bow around his neck, just absolutely looking frightening. And then when you look to some of the Middle Eastern countries, or even the African countries, even India, Mumbai, how these men dress, Bali, I should say, these men dress to try to meet women online. It's so hilarious. I mean, because when you get right down to it, it doesn't matter what language you speak or where you're from, and not to get into a we are the world, but when it comes to music, love, sex, relationships, I think it's just, that's all people are the same on those levels. Unless, of course, people have baggage and luggage and, all kinds of stuff. But when it comes right down to it, that's always going to be a huge issue. But if you see a guy coming at you with just everything, all of the goodies, be careful. Be careful. Because that's a big red flag. Oh, and also, guys, a little tip for you. Watching some of the adorable ladies getting ready and switching on their personalities as they switch their medications are a sight to behold. I don't envy anybody who's out there desperately seeking someone. That has got to be like the toughest spot to be in. Just be happy. If you can just do one thing one day that makes you feel good about that day, that's good enough. There's more people and more love in your life than you could ever want. It's all there. You just got to make it happen for yourself. That's all you can do is make it happen. Like, miracles do happen. If coma guy could come out of a coma with memory intact. Oh, and this is really cool. He describes going into a coma like a tree hibernating in the winter. Like that whole experience. It was just like he lost his leaves, which would be like his limbs, the ability to use his limbs. And then he went inward, so the base of the root is in the ground. The ground is always 50 degrees, like below all the freezing parts. And that's where he stayed until all of a sudden, boom, he emerged. I mean, if that doesn't give you hope, well, I just don't know about you then. I think you need your head examined. I'm Ellen Zee, and I'm wrapping up my podcast for today. I'm still practicing. Hang in there with me. I am a total work in progress, and I promise I'm going to have guests and stuff like that. But I have a few sound issues. Like, I do have 2 dogs, and a lot of times I live in, where I live is like in the downtown area. It may get noisy. So we're still ironing out a few minor issues. But I will be with you. I'm not going anywhere. I see what's happening. I'm hanging out. I'm not going anywhere. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.